106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Bartender knows what we want. We're a regular, everyday, 2-for-1 family, keeping each other from thinking too much. Someone's always buying if you ain't got money, 'cause everyone needs drinking buddies.
All right. Well, first of all, welcome. C&D's Booze Reviews. What is this, episode 18?
I think so.
Well, welcome back.
Yeah, man. Vacations are over. I should be good to go for a while now.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, if you listen to last week's episode, it was just me. And I recommended 5 movies and went on a little bit of a tangent about professional wrestling and some other stuff. So, yeah, probably wasn't the easiest to listen to, but I appreciate everybody that did. And now Chase is back, and he has no excuse to be gone for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So
It'll be probably several months before I go on vacation again. So I'm here.
I don't think I've been on an actual vacation in like 2 years.
You need to get out, buddy.
There's nowhere for me to go. Like, I don't have a passport.
Yeah, you need to get one of those.
Well, I don't have a birth certificate.
You order it.
I don't have a social security card. I'm basically an illegal
You're
citizen.
off the grid, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. I need to, I definitely do need to get some documentation because I don't know if I can even get on an airplane right now because my license doesn't have the.
Yeah, you got to have that little star thing.
Yeah, in order to get that, you have to have like a birth certificate. And
I think
stuff.
you might be grandfathered in, though. Because I don't
What do you
have-
mean?
I don't have one either. And I can fly.
Yeah, I don't know. Smarter people than us are going to have to answer that question. But
Yeah.
anyway, we'll dive into the movie and then we can talk about your vacation a little bit if you want. But it was your week, so.
Yeah, this week I chose Ray, the Jamie Foxx movie, and it's about the life of Ray Charles.
What made you want to watch this one?
I was looking through a list of movies that were really top 100 lists or whatever, and I seen Ray on there. I was like, damn, I haven't seen that movie in a while. So I just wanted to rewatch it.
It's yeah, it's awesome. Oh, before we do this, I don't know if you heard on last week's episode, but we had a listener suggest on Spotify comments. Mm-hmm. Since we started reading the Rotten Tomato scores,
Yeah.
he was like, "Hey, you should give your own score."
Oh, okay.
And his recommendation was like, how many beers out of a 12-pack or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So I brought that up last week because I think it's a
is
cool.
it the shittier the movie is, the more beers you have to finish it?
No. Instead of like 5 stars, it'd be like,
Oh, that's a
like
full
say if we did a
12-pack.
if we did
Okay.
a 6-pack would probably be easier. And Matt, one of our loyal listeners, commented and said that 6 might be an easier number to rate
Oh, yeah.
because it's closer to 5 probably. So yeah, if it's like really good, you'd be like, 5 beers out of 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I see where you're coming from too. Yeah, if the movie's just ass.
Yeah, I
I'd be
mean,
like,
you'd have to
you gotta
drink more to get through that thing.
Yeah, you need 2 30-packs to get through this.
You're going to
bad boy.
need a 30-pack and a handle of whiskey to finish this
Yeah,
movie.
and listen, we don't even drink liquor on this show, so that movie's gonna have to be real bad.
I have one in mind.
Oh yeah, don't.
Yeah, no.
Don't.
We're not going to go there.
Yeah,
Oh, hang on. Let me shut
little
this off.
inside joke. But yeah, this movie is about the life of legendary singer, piano player, cultural icon, could be said civil rights icon,
Yeah, and
Ray
he's
Charles.
a brilliant musician. I mean, and Jamie Foxx. Well, I'm just going to get right into it.
Yep, go ahead.
Jamie Foxx in this movie is just amazing.
Yeah, performance of his lifetime for sure.
Yeah. He perfectly at some points you forget it's Jamie Foxx and you think you're watching Ray Charles. It's crazy.
So I remember when this movie came out. It came out in 2004 or 5. No, 2004.
I think 4.
Yeah, October of 2004. And I remember being a big deal because they were making a lot of movies like this like before 2010, really, because they did the Johnny Cash, the Doors.
Yeah, there was a second there. It was like popular to make films about
right.
musicians.
So I remember this being a big deal because when you got the DVD, it had behind the scene features, and one of them was like the director, Ray Charles, and Jamie Foxx, basically talking about how Jamie got into character. And so the director thinks it's a good idea to bring Jamie to meet Ray. And keep in mind, too, I should mention, the director didn't know that Jamie could sing or play piano.
Really?
Which, by the way,
how do you not know
what's
that?
shitty casting if you're not even doing the research to see that this guy is musically talented?
Yeah, Jamie's just as amazing, too, as a musician. It's
so
crazy.
There's video footage. It's really cool. I'm sure it's on YouTube. But Ray is sitting down, and
I have seen this.
And he's all shaking side to side like Ray does, and he's all squirrely. And he goes, Jamie, let me tell you. But, you know.
I like how he talked. It was really, hey, let me, you know, right, like, kind of soft, but, like, fast-paced. And, yeah. So I seen that video too, and I think he like presses a wrong key, and he's like, "See, that's what I'm talking about."
Well,
right there,
yeah,
baby."
if I remember right, he asked Jamie, he goes, "Can you play piano?" And he goes, "Yeah, I went to college, like I'm trained in classical piano."
Yeah.
And he goes, "All right, what key do you want to play in?" And Jamie goes, "I don't know, G." And then Ray starts playing the mess around, and then Jamie hears him, and then he instantly starts playing the mess around. But yes, at some point, I think Ray sees him. He's like, "It's right under your fingers. Just play it." You know. So, but anyway, where I was trying to get with that is, that's the only time during that process
they met.
Ray wanted to. Jamie was scared that if he spent too much time with Ray in his 70s, then he was going to get into the character of Ray in his 70s.
Gotcha.
And he needed to be Ray as a young man.
As a younger man, yeah.
Yeah. So that was, first of all, the wherewithal to think about something like that is crazy. Because you would think if you're playing a real life person, it's got to be pretty handy to have that real life person.
Oh yeah, I imagine it's just, you know, the like ultimate piece into a character.
Yeah, because a lot of the times when you make a movie about somebody, they're dead.
Yeah, usually.
Well, and sadly, Ray died in June of 2004.
Yeah.
The movie came out in October.
Yeah, so he didn't even get to see it.
I assume he probably didn't see it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, liver disease, I think.
Yeah, liver failure, I believe.
Yeah. But anyway, you want to...
Yeah, so I guess let's go from the beginning.
Well, should explain who Ray Charles was just in case somebody out there doesn't know.
Ray Charles was a very famous musician who wrote a crap ton of good songs and was, I think, well regarded as one of the finest piano players to have lived.
Yeah, and he was a black man that started in the late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah.
So, and he was born in the South. So much like when we did Green Book, kind of, some of those cultural issues are in this movie a little bit, but...
Yeah, and it's actually right in the beginning of the movie. Because he's blind, he has to ask people for, you know, to see the ticket or whatever.
On his bus ticket.
Yeah, and the bus driver's really, really racist. But he ends up, you can see the quick-wittedness immediately. He's like, yeah, I lost my eyes in World War II.
Yeah, and like D-Day or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was never in the service. No. I think he went blind when he was like 8.
Yes, 8 or 7, I think.
Yeah.
But so he ends up getting on the bus, and then he, I believe, auditions for a band.
A country band.
Yeah. And they didn't think he could play country music, and he's like, I grew up on country music.
Yep.
And just goes in and immediately is awesome. But you see then he ends up moving on to
the swing clubs and...
I want to say, I think it was Chicago, but I don't know.
Chicago, New York.
One of those two. But he finally has his first kind of introduction into the music business, and they pretty much rob him.
Yeah, and you know what? That seems to be just a theme in all these movies. Like the Elvis situation.
You know, I don't think most people would think about that. Like, you know, they can be taken advantage of just like any other person.
Sure.
And
I mean,
if they didn't, you know, those guys didn't know what they were doing back then. Because
no, they don't know how much money they have or how much things cost.
Yeah.
Especially Ray's blind. So they're trying to short him out of because he says he has to be paid in ones
Yeah,
so he can count the money.
Feel the texture.
And
of
so
it.
they try to screw him by like giving him some tens and this and
Yeah.
that, or some fives. And he somehow knows because his mom was very adamant when he started going
that
blind
he's not. Yeah.
that he's not going to be a crippled. So she didn't treat him any different. She didn't raise him any
she
different.
didn't help
I
him.
found it fascinating that he didn't use a cane, like a walking cane.
That isn't.
And
that
he's
is
walking
crazy.
up and down sidewalks and around the house. But it kind of shows it in the movie a little bit. He goes, "Yep, it's 20 paces that way. Then take a right for 5 paces." Like he's
He
so
memori-
intelligent.
Yeah, he remembers.
Yeah, the layout of
the
whatever
amount
he's in.
of distance he has to travel.
Yeah, which is a superpower. I mean, Daredevil.
Yeah.
For Christ's
It's
sakes.
crazy.
But so his mom raised him to be like everybody else, and really, I mean, you probably wouldn't know. I mean, I don't know. There's some telltale signs, I guess, but you don't see the guy falling down or bumping into shit.
Well, I think he was just like, because like you said, I think his memory was just so good.
Yeah.
That once he got introduced to it for the first time, I think he kind of just remembered.
Why is it that blind people play the piano so well?
Their hearing's better.
Yeah, but out of all the instruments, like that has so many keys and you can't see where your fingers are going. And it's not like pianos have dots on them, like raised things like
Maybe
a keyboard.
there's, I don't know if they do that for their
Well,
pianos,
but
maybe?
no way in the 40s they had that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we need to build a certain piano. I mean, maybe later on in life he got a special one or something.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's learning from the old guy in the shack,
Yeah.
But I mean, Stevie Wonder allegedly is
Yeah.
blind, and Ray, and then there's a kid that won America's Got Talent a couple years ago, Cody Lee. He's blind.
I honestly think it's because of the hearing, man. They can just
Well,
hear
yeah.
the tone of the piano.
That maybe their feeling is so much better too on the keyboard. Because listen, I've screwed around with the piano a little bit, the keyboard anyway. It's a difficult instrument to play
Yes.
because there's so many keys you can play it in, much like a guitar.
Yeah.
And
I think if you can learn the scale of piano, you can learn to play a guitar.
well, it's easier
Yeah.
because the scale is practically the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the tones are very similar too, like the keys that you play in.
But so they thought they outsmarted him though, because they cut him a contract and he got screwed royally. Like he was only getting like what 10% or something.
Are you talking about the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Bunch of shysters.
eventually though, he ends up getting recognized and heard of to the point where a record label comes to him.
I would Atlantic Records.
Not yet, because it was a different record label. They
Oh,
sold
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
rights to him to Atlantic Records.
Well, with the bald dude that wrote "Mess Around," that was Atlantic, and then he ended up signing later on in his career with what was it, ABC or something.
Some
But
big,
that was at the time too when Atlantic Records was very small.
very small.
So the argument could be made because they're massive now. The argument could be made that without Ray Charles,
yeah, he kind of built.
he really put him on the map. He was probably their first massive artist, and he stayed with them for a long time.
He did, and so you kind of start. We should mention that he finds a love interest after he signs with Atlantic Record, who
B.
I believe will be his wife for
22 years.
yeah. And then I think
You know what's funny? They don't mention it. He was married before her
Yeah,
for like a year, but they don't
Yeah.
put that in the movie. You know how many kids he had?
12,
12 gosh damn kids. 12.
and not all of them with his wife.
No. Multiple different women. Yeah, he was.
That is a theme in this movie. It's actually one of the funnier scenes, though.
He's a ladies.
He's a
man.
womanizer, is
Big
what
time.
he is. But he gets married to B, and I think he hires a backup singer, and I'm pretty sure he starts messing with her.
Played by Regina King. Isn't that her name?
Yeah.
That actress?
Yes. I think
She's
so.
awesome.
Well, there's another singer before her,
Oh, yeah.
and they kind of have a fling or whatever.
Well, yeah, and then one of the funny things, one of the producers is like, "Oh, that girl's really good. We got to keep her around." And Ray's kind of right-hand guy for the record label is like, "If I know Ray, she's not going to be here very long," because he was just going through in women,
Yeah.
and that's It's part of his game. Hey, come sing on my record. You know, go on the road with me. I'll sleep with you. And then when things get serious or I'm ready to go back to my wife and family.
Yeah, it's basically see you later.
See you later. Yeah.
And he's doing all that. He gets introduced to these quartet members or whatever.
The 3 chicks?
Yeah, the 3 chicks.
Yeah, singing group. I don't know if they call it quartet.
He really starts a affair with her, though. Like, to the point.
For years.
For years.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have
It was a real
so many issues.
Garth Brooks, Trisha Yearwood situation. Or Johnny and June Cash. Or George and Tammy Wynette. Like, that's another thing. If you're a male singer and you have a female backup singer, I think it's like a requirement to leave your wife for that woman.
It seems like a theme, doesn't it?
And this is sidebar, but I like in the Garth Brooks documentaries, I never courted Trisha while I was married.
Right.
Get the hell out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. But anyway, keep going.
But so he starts a long affair with her, and you really start to see like the tragedy in there, because he's not warm to her. He just kind of
Just uses her.
just uses her really.
And by the time he gets with her too, he is in full blown heroin.
Yeah,
addict.
we should have mentioned
He's got a real heroin issue.
he starts heroin at like 16 years old, and pretty much is a heroin addict for most of his adult life.
At least
later
young adult
years.
life, yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing I find interesting. Of course, I'm sure it happens now, but like when you watch the Johnny Cash movie or you watch the Great Balls of Fire with Jerry Lee Lewis, or like really The Doors, any of these band movies, it's like another requirement that you have to develop a massive substance abuse issue.
Yeah,
And I have a theory, well, a couple theories. Some of our greatest musical artists really do come from a place of tragedy.
yeah, usually
They have had very sad lives leading up to that point. And then they are very destructive to their own life. That doesn't necessarily make it any better. But like Ray, at an early age, first of all, grew up dirt poor.
Dirt poor.
His little brother drowns when he's like 7, and he watches it happen.
Plagues him for most of his life.
Yeah, pretty much his entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, his mom was working hard. She was also tough on him. And then also add the fact that you're freaking blind.
Yeah, you're going blind.
And not only are you blind, but you're a black man in the South
Yeah.
in the 40s.
Yeah, it's not
And you're
ideal.
blind. So a lot of this. And then, but some of the other theory I have is like, especially with musicians, they're on the road constantly.
Yep.
They're doing all these shows. They're trying to, while doing all this, trying to come up with the next radio hit and that. And I think a lot of them rely on that stuff to keep up the energy.
Yeah.
And then I think they get reliant on it thinking,
Well, you got to think, what's their tour dates like? They're probably having to travel, hundreds of miles?
well, and especially back then when it's all in a car
yeah,
too.
it's all in a car. So, it can't be the easiest life to live.
I think it probably comes to a point though where they start to feel like if they do get cleaned up, their creativity is going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
Or, obviously anybody in an entertainment industry is missing something, right? So they crave some sort of attention and this and that. So if you're not putting out hits, well, nobody's coming to the shows.
Yeah.
Nobody's telling you how great you are.
The problem
Nobody's
for him
loving
was,
you.
The problem for him was he made so many hits that it just his touring kept going and going and going because he just kept making hits.
Oh yeah, but I think it's a real issue. I mean, not even just with musicians, but like just people in general.
Yeah.
Like stand-up comics are a prime example of guys that die really young from substance abuse, and it's famously quoted that some of the best comedians are some of the most depressed people on the earth.
Yeah.
Because they need that laughter, right? And the second that stops, I mean, what do they have?
It's like the famous one is Robin Williams.
Well, there's lots. Sam
Yeah.
Kinison,
Yeah.
Belushi, Farley,
Yeah.
like all these guys. And
It's like they can stay in the silence at their house.
no, and Ray even says in this movie when his wife is like, "You've got to get off the junk," and he goes, "I'm blind and I'm scared of the dark." He goes, "Because my whole life I've been lonely, and every day I'm lonely because he can't see shit. He's in the dark, literally."
Yeah.
And he's like, "So this heroin makes him not lonely."
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think that's a crutch for a lot of people.
Yeah. But we should mention that that backup singer that he has a long affair with, he does end up having a child with her.
Yeah, her and like 16 other women.
Yeah. Which they don't show that in the movie. But
It'd have to be 12 hours long, man.
by the way, three of his baby's mamas were his backup singers.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was his game.
Like,
And tell him how he determines if a chick's hot.
oh, so one of the funnier scenes in the movie is Ray would go up to the chicks and like shake their hands, and with his other hand he would feel their wrist to see if it was a thin wrist or a fat wrist. And if it was a fat wrist, he wouldn't talk to them.
I mean, I don't know what other strategy you'd have.
I mean, besides like, I don't know, feeling their face.
You
or
can't just
something.
be feeling
yeah,
faces,
you
man.
can't do that.
But I think it's funny that literally every woman he meets, when he shakes their hand, he grabs the wrist. Every single one of them.
And that's usually shown throughout the movie because it's kind of a tell if he's gonna, try to womanize.
Well, and that's another thing with these musicians. Infidelity, drugs, and alcohol.
Yep,
It's like,
hand in hand.
and then your music becomes an addiction too, and everything you're getting from the crowd.
And I guess we're kind of neglecting the music side of this. We need to reflect on how many like actual hits this dude made. It's insane.
Well, and I could be wrong here, I don't think he wrote Georgia on My Mind. I believe that song was around. Now, he took it to new heights.
Yeah. So much so it became the state's or the state song.
Yeah. What's ours? Home on the Range?
Probably.
Probably time to change that, don't you think?
Yeah, we're no longer really ranging, are we?
I mean, we got some range.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
It's just not anyway, it doesn't matter. But anyway, that Willie Nelson documentary I'm talking about, he really wanted to do Georgia on My Mind, which he did. He ended up doing it.
Yeah.
But he was scared to do it because Ray Charles's was so freaking good.
And what's funny is he changes genres too in this movie a lot, and people think he's gonna fail. And then every time they think he's gonna fail, he just made a mega success.
There's just no denying
his talent.
The talent. Yeah. And, back then, especially, now people are crossing genres. I mean, Shania Twain put out pop records. She put out country records. Like, you got rappers coming over to country now. Country guys singing. Taylor Swift, probably one of the more successful ones. But
Transit, yeah.
But back then,
it wasn't a thing, really.
That's what he said. They're like, no, you play in the dance clubs. Like, that's what you do best.
You're an R&B artist.
And he goes, I grew up loving country. He goes, I want to play country. And, when he finally does.
And we should say, his country music is awesome.
He's in the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah, because he's awesome.
Yeah. And he sang with a lot of country artists, too. But they think that he can't do country because, yes, you're an R&B jazz guy.
Yeah.
And also, you're a black dude.
He's pretty much one of the godfathers of soul.
Sure. But you're a black dude. And some would argue that even today, it's kind of hard to be a black person in country music. And I think that's a stigma, probably. But, I mean, look at Darius Rucker, Jimmy Allen. I mean, there's... But... Especially because him and Bing Crosby,
maybe,
or Charlie Pride.
Yeah.
So, and then they, like you said, they love it. They love him doing country, and they go, man, why do they love that? And he goes, man, country music, it tells a story.
Yeah.
And that's why he loves it, because it's storytelling, it's art. Yeah, and I bet it would probably, if you're an artist, you're not just a club musician, you're an artist. You want to make music that affects people. So playing Shake Your Tail Feather every night, or The Mess Around, which has really no lyrical value.
No, I think it's just for him to get on the radio, basically.
Well, and I thought it was funny that the whitest guy I've ever seen on television was the one that wrote this song.
Yeah.
That's clearly catered to those kind of black swing clubs.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he loved Ray so much, because he loved that style of music and he believed in him, and that's why he signed him.
Well, we should mention Ray Charles's voice is so iconic. Like
It's unique, very
You
unique.
hear it, and there's no one else that sounds like it.
Oh, and he did that song with Willie,
Yeah.
7 Spanish Angels.
Oh my God! Talk about a song. It literally could bring the house down.
Well, when they performed it together for the first time, too, I think it was, I don't know if it was at the Opry or what it was.
Awesome.
It'll give you chills, man. YouTube that performance. Because that's
YouTube
another.
any Ray Charles
well, yeah,
performance.
but him and Willie Nelson. And what was funny is I learned in that Willie Nelson documentary, too, he was friends with Ray for like 9 years and never met him. But they talked on,
They
the,
talked
phone
on the phone,
constantly.
sent letters to each other.
And I think, if I remember right, when they did that big performance, that was the first time I ever met him in person. And Willie
very
got
funny.
a lot of grief because he was like just such good friends with this black dude.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you're an outlaw. You can't.
Yeah.
And Willie's like, well, smoke weed with him. What are you talking about? You know? So kudos to Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
God, if they ever make a movie about that guy.
Oh, they will someday.
I hope so. But yeah, so really, I thought his rise to fame seemed to happen fairly quickly too.
I don't think it did though. In actuality,
Maybe not, but
because I think he had a failed. Because you remember that's why he got traded to or sent to Atlantic Record, was because he wasn't selling albums, and then he gets to Atlantic and all of a sudden he's hitting home.
well, they
runs.
put money behind him. They were giving him what he needed,
Yeah.
and they gave him creative control over shit
Yeah.
too. That other record label was just trying to make him
And we
cut.
should mention too, Ray Charles was a damn good businessman.
He's just a very intelligent person.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, business
Just because
wise,
he was blind, he didn't let anybody overstep him. Nothing.
no. And you know what's crazy? Another thing I learned: Jamie Foxx shot that whole movie blind. He glued his eyes shut
Yep.
because he felt like he couldn't. He didn't want
Fully-
to play a blind man. He wanted to be a blind man.
Mm-hmm.
Come
we
on.
should mention Jamie won the Oscar for this movie.
Well deserved.
Yes.
That
And what's crazy too is Jamie sounds so much like Ray Charles when he's performing.
yeah. And I was curious about that, so I researched it. So Jamie sang a lot, but they also, while they were filming,
Stitched in.
had Ray play the piano and sing. So some of those performances, when you're like, how the hell can he sing like Ray Charles that good? It's actually Ray Charles singing.
Makes sense.
But the director did say that having Jamie be a trained pianist was the best, because if you notice a lot of the shots when he's playing,
Over the keyboard.
it starts with his hands and follows his arms up. And he was saying if you have an actor that can't actually play, you can't have those
Yeah.
shots. So
Yeah.
he's like, that's what made it, and I agree that it made it feel like that was actually Ray Charles.
Yeah, because you literally see Jamie just pounding the keys.
Oh, he's good.
And okay, I guess we're not really diving too deep into this movie, but the one scene I thought was the best scene in the movie is he goes short on time or something, and he goes Ray just goes, well, just follow me and pick up the keys and jump in, and I got a song, and he basically wrote a hit song right on stage.
Yeah, because someone in the crowd's like, where can we get that song? And they're like,
And by the way,
I don't know. It's not out yet.
By the way, amazing song too.
Yeah, they're all good, man.
Like,
Dude, Ray Charles is just such a cool cat. Like, I'm saying cat now.
yeah.
That's my thing.
Well, they did say Daddy-O and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
in that.
You jiving me, man. You jiving me. So, like, it doesn't show it so much in the movie, but not only was he just this massive music star, this dude was on every TV appearance. They had cameos in movies,
Well, he also
shows.
crossed the racial boundary too.
Absolutely. That's probably the more important part of the movie that we should bring up for sure.
Yeah.
Is he meets up with Quincy Jones at this festival. And Quincy mentions that he's touring over in Europe because they're not racist over there.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, that's where all the money is. And Ray's like, oh, you're crazy. There's so much money to be made here. Well, mainly, it's because he's the only one that's got the balls to tour the entire country. Because like Quincy and a lot of those guys, probably B.B. King back in the day, wouldn't go down to the Jim Crow, where that Jim Crow laws. So initially, Ray's clouded by the fame and the money. And he's like, I'll go down there. I don't give a damn. And he gets into Georgia, and they're having a protest because the venue is segregated. Dance floors only for white people. The black people are in the balconies. And this young man is saying, Ray, you know, don't, they're segregated. And at first,
he wasn't going to do it.
He goes, I don't care. You know, it's money.
And then he's
the venue manager.
Yeah, and manager says something.
Yeah, he says, like, get your black ass out of here or something. And Ray goes, you know what? He's right. Pack it up.
Yep.
And vowed to never play in the Jim Crow areas.
Actually gets banned from the state of Georgia.
Well, Georgia ends up banning him, but I mean, he wouldn't go down there and play any of those venues until they desegregated. And then Georgia banned him, and then
and we should mention too, the cops do him pretty dirty.
Yeah, like the first time he gets busted with heroin, and the second time, really.
And they allow it kind of is it pisses me off actually watching it.
It's tough
because they pull him into jail, and instead of, like, usually you wouldn't do this, but because it was the Deep South, you know, they brought in all these reporters into the cell and had them take pictures of him in the cell.
Well,
and that just pissed me off because it's not very fair to him.
Well, no, it's not, and it's disgusting that shit like that happened, and in some cases probably still does.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's tough to watch. It's kind of heartbreaking, really.
It is.
They're just trying to ruin his life, basically, because he's black.
He also gets popped from flying from Canada
customs
to customs, and they pop him for pills or something.
You know who else got popped by customs? Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, dude. It's like,
so did Paul McCartney.
Dude, it's just a common denominator with musicians.
He got caught with weed, though.
Yeah, and Johnny got pills. Freaking Ray was shooting heroin, dude.
Yeah, he was doing the pretty hard shit.
And he says when he's getting arrested, you know, he's like, I'm not selling, like, I'm not hurting anybody. And he goes, you're hurting everybody by bringing your black ass down here or whatever. Or I'm not going to repeat what he says, but playing your certain word music on the radio. And that's another thing that it didn't show a lot of, which I guess, I don't know. I guess it depends on the direction you want to take as a director. Because they could have got a lot more into the racial side of things.
Yeah, and I think,
and the civil rights.
I think they just had to shorten the movie.
I understand.
Because this guy lives such a crazy
but that's a
life.
pretty important part of. But they could have got more into it if they wanted to. I'm not bitching about it.
No.
I'm just, whatever direction you want to take creatively. But he did a lot. I mean, opened up a lot of doors and put up with a lot of bullshit to do it. And it wasn't just him. Like I said, you know,
there's other people too.
Absolutely. And that's like, and we talked about this in Green Book too. It's such a hypocritical, racist thing to be like, oh, this black guy is making a shit ton of money for everybody. So we got to book him in our venues. Yeah. But we don't want him going to the bathroom in here. We don't want, you know, other black people in here.
It's really fucked up.
But we need him for money.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just doesn't make any sense, because if you're truly racist and you truly hate a race of people.
Yeah, you wouldn't have them at all.
No. You would get, I don't know, fucking Elvis or somebody. Or the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
But he was the hottest thing in music.
Yeah, and I mean, he was just so talented. I just don't think there was any way people could deny him what he wanted to do in life.
Well, yes. And he was talented in a lot of ways because, like we said, he's just unbelievably intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
Not just musically. I mean, just
in general.
In general.
Yeah.
Very well educated, too.
Yeah, so it doesn't show it in the movie, but there's a scene where his mom's sending him off on a bus, and she actually sent him to a school of the blind. And I think while he was there, his mom passed away.
Yep.
So he pretty much worked his entire life just to, stick to what his mom wanted, his values.
Right. And that's one of the heartbreaking scenes, too. He ends up going to rehab, and he's going through withdrawal, but he's doing it all cold turkey.
Yeah,
He doesn't
which
want
is-
any.
For those who might not know, to kick heroin just cold is almost impossible.
Yeah. And I mean, really,
And I think
any pharmaceutical is
I think
gonna.
it can even kill you.
Withdrawals could definitely kill you.
Yeah.
And like he didn't even want an IV because he didn't want the feeling of the needle going in his arm because he knew,
Yeah.
what that would do.
Well-
but he has this.
We should say too, his wife gives him an ultimatum, basically saying
God, it
after he
took
got,
her long enough.
after he got busted with the pills, because she put up with a lot of his bullshit. And
That's another common thing that you're seeing in all these movies with these guys in that era. When they got a good wife, they stuck around.
yeah,
Johnny and June, like June stuck around, got his ass cleaned up,
well, and she basically says either you get clean or I'm taking the kids and getting the hell out of here.
I wonder if that was a cultural thing, like back then. Like, you don't leave your husband.
It was,
You know what I mean?
I think it was for society. It was kind of frowned upon. to
Yeah,
get
because
divorced.
she turned a blind eye. She knew he was sleeping around.
Yeah.
She knew he fathered other kids.
I mean, he broke down in front of her when he found out that we should say his backup singer overdosed, and she brings up the kid, I think,
yeah,
and he's like, "You knew?"
yeah.
He was like, "She's like, we'll send him some money," and he goes, "Don't worry about it. I've been sending him money every month."
Yeah, and I don't know that he broke down because he was in love with that girl. Because he told B, he's like, "You're the only woman I'm ever gonna
Well,
love."
I think it was more of the
he felt responsible. Is what I think.
yeah.
he was guilt. He felt guilt.
because
He treated her
He
like
has a-
dog shit, man.
he has a bad habit too of getting other people addicted to substances.
It just drags everybody down with him.
yeah.
It burns his friends.
That's what I kind of like about this movie. It doesn't really shy away from the faults he had.
You can't. And if you're gonna make an autobiography about any of these guys, you got to show.
The lows of lows.
You have
basically.
to. Because that's what also makes a story better too when they come back from the other side
Oh,
of
sure,
it.
yeah. We should say though, the drugs never affected his music per se,
No.
but it was his personal life that
Mm-hmm.
just shattered.
Yeah. And well, that's what I'm saying is some of those guys might look at it of, oh, look what I've done
Yeah.
while I was on these drugs. If I get off these drugs, am I
can
going to be
even-
as
can I even
creative?
write anything anymore?
But the way, when he'd have the orchestras and all these different harmonies, like nobody was doing stuff like that.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, do you think he's one of the first artists to like kind of finagle or manage his own deal that he cut with that record label? Because he got total control. He owned the rights to his everything.
I would assume probably, but I think, and even in today's, the way you got to do it is you got to own the masters to your music,
Yeah, and
which record labels hate to cut that deal.
Yeah, 'cause it gives them so
will
much
never,
revenue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Almost will never cut that deal. That's that whole lawsuit that Taylor Swift just went through. It's happened to multiple artists because they come to you and you're playing dives, right? And now they're saying,
they
we'll give
promise you money.
We'll give you
fame.
$50,000 up front. And I'm talking about today.
Oh
okay?
yeah,
Especially, let's take Nashville for an example. Okay. You're 19, 20 years old, sharing an apartment with 6 other songwriters. Somebody hears your demo, whatever, and says, we'll give you $40,000. Sign the dotted line. You're eating cup of noodles.
yeah. You're gonna take it,
Hell yeah, you're going to take it.
and
then
they know that because they can take
they know,
advantage of it.
well, what's 40 grand to them, right?
Yeah, it's
If
nothing.
they spend 40 grand, you put out one record, it sucks, they cut you, whatever. But
If it hits,
now they own you.
yeah,
That's that Aaron Lewis song, Country Boy or whatever, where he talks about, meeting up with the devil and sign that dotted line and everything. He's talking about record labels.
I think a lot of musicians have made songs about him.
it's getting a lot easier to be an independent artist these days.
Yeah, just because of social media and everything.
The internet, there's lots of platforms, streaming.
The middleman now.
Well, I mean, with the equipment we have right now,
Yeah, we
could record a whole
Yeah.
record on that computer.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't necessarily need. I mean, it helps obviously, but
Yeah, when you have money to help produce,
it's just
things.
easier now.
Yeah,
And streaming, in a lot of ways, has hurt the music industry, but it's also helped independent artists. I mean, Cody Johnson was independent. He might. No, I think he signed, but. Zach Bryan. I mean, just I'm talking about today's people.
yeah.
So Ray very well could have been
One of the first
to do that. And the only reason he was able to do that is because nobody was selling more than him.
Because he's Ray Charles. That's
Yeah.
why.
So when you have, and I think another problem becomes too, like in the case of
I think
Elvis Presley and in so many others, is when you have other people handling your business
They can embezzling's huge.
easily.
You know, basically
Well,
stealing
in
from them.
that NWA movie, same thing. Eazy-E was the only one making any freaking money.
Yep.
And there's always just one scroungy shyster that is taking advantage of somebody or whatever. And plenty of people try to do that to
kind
Ray.
of a lonely life to live, though, to worry about people trying to take advantage of you all the
I'm
time.
sure. Well, you'd be paranoid all the time,
Yeah.
for sure, because especially if you actually do get burned once.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's kind of like a rite of passage, though, that it happens to almost everybody.
I mean, he fires his own road manager in this movie because the guy been taking money from him,
But he wasn't.
but he wasn't.
He wasn't actually. He was paranoid that he was.
Yeah. And so he just cut him. He
Yeah,
told
and
him.
it was actually
And
another guy.
you kind of see how cold he could be because, you know, he knew that guy for 20 years.
Yeah, easily. Best friend, probably.
And that guy basically took care of him.
Oh, he did the same shit to his band, though.
Yeah. He would just cut him.
At some point, he realized everybody was replaceable.
Yep.
But and you could see the transition of what the fame and the drugs were doing to him because initially, when he got other offers from labels,
He would, yeah.
he even at first wasn't going to entertain the idea because he goes, "No, Atlantic is family. We don't do that to family. We
Yeah.
take care of our people." And then you can kind of see the shift
Well,
in
he
Ray
was like-
Charles.
Well, what are they offering?
Exactly. But I mean, before the massive amounts of drug usage and all this stuff, he wouldn't have treated his band like that. He wouldn't have treated his
No.
road manager like that. He wouldn't have treated anybody
And
like that.
you do see in the movie him getting more and more strung out on heroin,
Bad.
but he was a functioning addict,
Dude,
dude.
a lot of them are. Look at Motley
Because
Crue.
he just never missed a show. He never missed a taping.
Nope.
Nothing.
But how many times did Nikki Sixx overdose?
Yeah, like he died like 6 times or something.
That's what I'm saying. It's like a thing. And I like, not to get too dark, but going back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, I think it's an epidemic. Well, first of all, drugs and
Yeah.
it is absolute epidemic.
It's a problem.
But just like for regular people that aren't chasing fame or anything, like I just had the conversation the other day. It's not about drugs necessarily, but you know, growing up, I was just the funny kid in class, and that's how I got attention, right? And that's how I got people to like me and want to hang out with me.
Yeah.
Is I could make them laugh, or I'd do something stupid in class and get in trouble, or whatever. So in high school, going to parties, college, going to parties, everybody's like, "Oh, this is Knox. He's the funny guy."
Yeah,
Right? So now you feel this pressure. Oh, they only want to be around me
because you're funny.
because I can make them laugh.
Yeah.
So now you feel this pressure to do it. So like a couple weeks ago, I went to a birthday party. People I've known for a long time. And I go in there, and one of our friends is introducing me to a couple people I've never met. And they're like, "Oh, this is Knox. He's the funniest guy I've ever met." And I guess I just wasn't funny. And he kept coming up to me all night. And he's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Oh, you're just not being funny." I was like, "I don't have any jokes, man. I'm just hanging out."
Yeah, I'm just here, dude.
And he's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm having a good time." And he goes, "Yeah, but you're just not being funny like you always are."
Yeah.
And I struggled with that for a few days because then my anxiety kicks in and all the shit that I've worked on in therapy and everything else. And now it's like, now I'm thinking, oh, is he only my friend because he wants me to be funny? Or did I let people down? So I think when it comes to like these musicians or athletes even or anybody,
Well, I think musicians especially because they have so much control over a fan's emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Ray Charles could sing a song and make someone cry.
And then turn around and make it boogie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of
Took you on a journey.
That has to be addicting as well.
Oh, it absolutely is. But I think, like I said, it comes with so much pressure and responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
And then also, like you said, the lonely part is, it's easy for people on the outside looking in being like, oh, he's got the nicest house
got
on the
millions of
block.
dollars.
Yeah, but all these people only want to be around you because
You're so famous.
yeah, and your money and all this stuff. And and you see in all these movies, pretty much the dudes or the girls, like the people that were with you before you were famous, they almost always burn those bridges
Yeah.
in every one of these movies.
It's because I think it's artists especially just get so many people telling them how great
yeah,
they
it's
are.
stressful. I guarantee
that,
it.
Eventually, after hearing it for so long, I think you just have to buy into it.
I'm sure it's a little bit different these days. I bet it's still very stressful.
Yeah.
But, you got to think in the 40s, 50s, 60s, hell, even 15 years ago, especially being a man, you don't go to therapy.
No.
Hell, in the 40s, they were doing shock therapy and lobotomies,
Yeah.
But you suck it up. You tough it up. And I think there's a long way to go with the battle on mental health, even these days.
yeah, but
But
at least it's more aware.
it's a lot more socially acceptable to talk about it. But it's kind of a double-edged sword too, because now it's almost become sexy
Yeah.
to have some sort of mental illness. So like if I'm scrolling through TikTok and I see some idiot dressed up in a bunch of stuff, crying and bitching because somebody at Starbucks got his order wrong, and now he's in such a massive depression, I'm like, that's a little out of pocket.
Relax.
Yeah, there's people that really have problems.
Yeah.
So that seems fabricated to me. But there's a long ways to go. But I couldn't imagine being a guy like Ray
I don't think
or like
anyone,
Elvis.
I don't
or
think
like
anyone can. Unless you're living it, I don't think anyone can imagine what it's
Oh,
like.
and everybody wants a piece. All these women that sleep with him only want to sleep with him because he's Ray Charles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And, like we said, though, he indulged plenty.
how could you not?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're committed to monogamy.
Yeah.
But if you're a single guy, hell yeah. I don't have a talent,
Yeah.
so I'll never know.
We will never.
I
know,
will
that's
never
for
be
sure.
put in that position.
That is for sure.
I'm so good at something that someone doesn't even care if I'm attractive or not.
I like to think of us as Swiss Army knives. We just
Yeah.
we can dabble in a little bit of
Yeah.
everything, but we're not good at one thing.
I'm not really good at one thing, but
we're
I'm a little bit good at a lot of things.
We're okay at other things.
Enough to get by. Yeah, dude. But I love all these movies, and as far as I'm concerned,
Well-
they can keep making them.
For me, I just like music so much that it's just so interesting to figure out the lives of these people.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask you this question. Initially, I wanted to ask it, I wanted to clip it, and I was going to play it on the radio station. But the radio station sold, so I don't even know if I'm ever going to go back up there again. I hope so. I don't know. But I thought this would be an interesting question, and I didn't plan on bringing this up, but what you just said, and of course, what a better movie to do it for. Do you, and I'm putting you on the spot, but can you think of like a song or a band, and it could have been yesterday, 20 years ago, that like when you hear it, it brings you back to a certain time in your life, whether it was a good
absolutely.
time or a bad time,
Absolutely.
that every time you hear it, you just turn it up a little bit. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's the Eagles. Hotel California. It's one of my favorite songs.
you do love that song.
because I just remember riding in the car with my grandmother
Mm-hmm.
and playing, just her blaring that song, and it's just kind of ingrained into me that song has so much meaning to me.
Dude, don't you have you have the lyrics?
I have
Hanging
my-
on your
yeah, I
wall,
have it on
don't
my
you?
arm. Yeah,
You have it on your arm?
yeah. I got it tattooed on me.
Which tattoo?
This one right here.
What's the lyric?
Some dance to remember, some dance to forget.
Oh, yeah, but you have something on your wall too at your house, don't you?
I think it's that same quote, actually.
Really? God, what a genius song.
It's one of my favorite.
That band's awesome too,
Yeah.
by the way.
I don't care how many people want to trash them or whatever.
Well, who's trashing them?
I guess it's a thing.
Why?
People trash the Eagles, man.
For
Because-
what reason?
Because they sound too, I don't know, too produced or something. I don't get it. But for me, they are one of my favorite bands.
My wife's mom's like obsessed with them.
For good reason. They made a lot of good hits, man.
Yeah, for me, well, there's so many, obviously, but
I think they at one point had they did the greatest Eagles song ever and released an album of it, of all their greatest songs.
oh, the greatest hits,
And it literally is the third best selling album of all time.
dude. Joe Walsh is just different, dude. Vince Gill played for him a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
That's wild. There's so many songs or bands for me. Obviously, I can't go through all of them, but I think one of them that really gets me, and I don't hear it often because it came out God knows when, is The Crossroads. And is it Charlie Robinson?
The blues player?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think.
Okay. So my
I
uncle,
think you're right.
Yeah, my uncle Steve
We might be wrong, but
was a really big blues fan,
yeah, he's considered the
godfather of
one
blues.
that created everything.
So the whole story behind this guy is initially he couldn't play guitar worth a damn.
The legend, we should say.
Right. So he goes down to the crossroads, sells his soul to the devil,
yep.
comes back, and is just the most incredible guitar
And is
player.
amazing.
So
He actually started the 27 Club.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up leaning into it and wrote a song called The Crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
I go down to the crossroads.
He's fantastic guitar player.
And anyway, the reason that song just always gets me is my Uncle Steve used to play that song all the time. And Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Who's that's one of your native brothers. Mm-hmm. But
He's badass.
that song means a lot to me because I can just remember, because my uncle bought me my first guitar. We used to pick around together.
Yep.
And I just remember always hearing that song. And even sometimes today, but especially back then, and my uncle was a really good guitar player in his own right. And I would always just think to myself, I would totally go sell my soul to the devil
to play guitar.
to be able to play like my uncle.
Yeah.
And, now that my uncle's gone or whatever, I mean, obviously, now that I'm older, I probably definitely wouldn't do that. But that song just connects. I mean,
I guess I should mention James Taylor, too.
I've seen fire and I've seen
Is there a better?
rain.
He's one of the best songwriters ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think you'd find a lot of people that would argue with that.
He's,
And then, we could do this all day, but Rolling Stones, my first ever concert,
Oh, yeah.
went with my mom, and I freaking love the Stones. Who doesn't?
I mean, everyone does. I can't believe they don't have a movie about them.
Or at least a solid documentary.
A documentary, dude. I actually, now that we're just chit chatting now. First, I guess we should say, what do we rate this movie?
Out of a 6-pack.
Out of a 6-pack, I'd give this a solid 5.
Oh, yeah, easily. I would say, 5, if not 5.25.
Yeah,
Because there are some things I wish they kind of would have elaborated on
and
a
it's
little
just
bit.
pacing. Pacing's the only reason why.
No, and listen,
I get it.
any of these movies that they make about these guys, say I had the same issue with the Johnny Cash movie,
Yeah, it's just there's so much to their lives. They just can't
Which,
fit
by
it
the way-
all in one movie.
was a great movie.
Yeah,
Walk the Line's awesome.
yeah, amazing.
They left out a lot of stuff. And as much as I love Joaquin Phoenix, I don't know if he was the guy.
He's pretty good though.
I know, but he just didn't really look like Johnny that much, I didn't think.
No, not really.
You know who else doesn't have a really solid movie? Now, they've made a couple movies, but not a really good production. Hank Sr. Mm-hmm. They made a movie, I Saw the Light.
Yeah, they should have. He's one that they actually even his son would be an interesting movie.
Bo
too.
Cephas.
Oh hell yeah! Because I mean, the dude fell off a 400-foot cliff
Mm-hmm.
and somehow lived. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
This movie, because of the piano playing, just made me want to go back and watch Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah.
That's a
Damn good movie.
dude. I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in.
That's Dennis Quaid, right?
Yeah, it's Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
And I think Winona Ryder plays the wife, who was his second cousin.
Yeah.
Pretty weird shit.
Weird stuff going on there.
But that was another thing that Ray had to battle, is like when he'd start playing that upbeat gospel with different lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's like, you're playing the devil's music.
you're destroying our gospel music.
Right. Which they did the same thing to Elvis.
Can you hand me another one?
They did the same thing to Jerry Lee.
Yep.
That's just what everybody was, especially in the Bible Belt.
Oh yeah.
But the best quote I just always remember it, and there's so much about that movie I don't remember because I haven't seen it in so long, Great Balls of Fire, was he's playing piano or something, and they're cussing him, burning his records or whatever, and some lady is like yelling at him, and she's like, "Go to hell, Jerry Lee," and he goes, "I'm taking my piano with me." That guy was wild.
Dude, that guy was quite the character.
Yeah, he shot. Well,
He took a Tommy gun and shot into a hotel room.
Well, remember the story of him driving through the gates of Graceland?
Dude, we should shout that documentary out. That's a great documentary. On
Oh,
Mike
Tales of the
Judge.
Tour Bus.
Yeah, Mike Judge.
It's on Amazon.
Check it out, guys. If you're into music, it is an amazing documentary.
Yeah, the first season's predominantly about old school country musicians.
Yeah.
And the second season's kind of
soul.
Yeah. But he tells a story about Jerry Lee, who was also on fire, like at the time. And someone's like, "Yeah, Elvis, they're calling him the king." And he goes, "Bullshit, I'm the king." So he gets all hyped up on drugs and drunk, grabs a gun, gets in his Cadillac, drives through the gates of Graceland, crashes the car into Elvis's house, fully intending on
Killing
assassinating
Elvis. Yeah.
Elvis. But when he wrecked, he knocked himself out.
Can't make this shit up, dude.
Oh, dude, that's such a great documentary series.
George Jones one got me too. They're like, and with the theme, if you don't know, Mike Judge created King of the Hill.
And Beavis and Butthead.
And Beavis and Butthead. And he animates all these, so you get like in his style. So you get to watch all this happen. And George Jones one cracked me up because he went over to Waylon Jennings' house and literally like got tied to a tree because I think he's like, "You don't know who I am. I'm the king of country music." And he's like, and Waylon says, "You might be the king of country or the best country singer to ever live, but you're tied to a fucking tree."
Dude, I love a good documentary, especially about musicians.
Yeah. So
You got to watch that Willie Nelson,
yeah, I'm going to.
especially as much as you love Willie.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
That's kind of one of the things I guess I always knew, but I'm really learning in this documentary. When they say everybody loves Willie Nelson,
They mean it.
they mean everybody.
He's on the same vein of like Dolly Parton,
Yeah.
like because I don't know if anyone doesn't like them.
Well, and Willie's such a interesting guy, and he was just so ahead of his time
Yeah.
that he was a hippie, but he wanted to be a cowboy. He was just kind of everything.
Yeah.
Never had a problem with any different race of people.
One of the most amazing songwriters to have ever lived, probably.
Yeah, and that's another thing I found out. Like, the amount of music the guys put out is just too much to listen to. Like, at one point, he just got bored and started calling people, and he's like, "You want to do an album together?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they'd go do a whole album, and then that would release, and he'd call another one of his friends, and he's like, "You want to do an album?" And they're like, "Sure." So it got to the point where everybody was calling Willie because if they wanted a hit
hit
song,
album?
yeah, they'd get Willie Nelson on it. And then I think it was Johnny Cash called him and was like, "Hey man, what the hell? Like, you've done one with Waylon, you've done one with Merle, you've done one with Chris Christopherson, like all of our friends." He's like, "Why are you not doing an album with me?" And Willie's like, "Okay." So then they get together and then eventually become
The Highwaymen.
Yeah. And that's when they got branded as outlaws, which is funny because in the documentary, you'll have all Willie's friends, if they're still alive, from back then. And they're like, Willie was the furthest thing from an outlaw in the literal sense.
Yeah.
Like, he's not breaking a lot of laws. He's not going to hurt. But what made those guys outlaws was their outlook on the music industry
Basically,
and their attitude about.
flipping the bird to the music industry.
But Willie would go play in the honky tonks and then go smoke weed with all the hippies.
Mm-hmm.
And then the hippies would hire him to play music. I mean, he just integrated everybody.
Yeah.
I think you can make an argument that Willie Nelson was probably as important to, I got to be careful about that. I don't want to say a civil rights movement, but I want to say bringing.
He was a brilliant advocate for it.
Advocate, that's great.
Yes.
Yeah. Bringing lots of cultures. Before Willie, the hippies and the cowboys didn't hang out.
Yeah.
Now there's songs about it. Hippies and the cowboys, Cody Jinks. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like cool to be a little bit of both now, like a gypsy
Yeah,
almost.
kinda.
And I didn't realize, I guess I should have because of the way he wears his hair, Willie's native.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his mom was full-blown something.
Yeah.
And his dad, and I guess, I mean, he was born 90 years ago, so evidently that was a problem.
Yeah.
That
It used to be frowned upon.
Yeah. And they were just really bad people, too. But anyway, I don't want to get too into it because you got to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But kudos to Willie Nelson. Rappers rap about him. Like he's like Ric Flair in that sense that everybody wants to smoke weed with Willie. Or everybody.
yeah.
Dude, I don't smoke weed. I've never been a weed guy. If Willie Nelson, I
You're
would
not
have
turning
to.
that down. You're not turning
You
that down.
can't. I
No.
don't think you can.
He might kill you because I'm sure his weed is crazy, but you can't turn that down.
No, he tells a story in there when his house caught on fire and he was at the bar getting drunk and they called him at the bar. It was like Christmas Eve or something. And they're like, your house is on fire. And he's like, shit, hauled ass home. Fire department. He looks, sees that his family's outside, runs into the blaze. And firefighters are trying to get to him and he runs right into this house that's engulfed in flames and grabs Trigger, his guitar, and 2 pounds of Colombian weed. The guy's crazy.
It's awesome.
But hey, well, I got a couple things I wanted to cover before we get out of here.
Okay.
Well, first of all, how was your Christmas?
It's good. Yeah, really good.
Get anything good?
Just some clothes, which is
Great.
the greatest thing I can get now. But we flew out to California.
Yep.
Stayed there for a week, and it was a good trip.
Probably the coolest gift, or the one that I hate ranking them because you don't get a lot when you're
Close to 30.
yeah. But I got like 3 packs of socks, which made me so freaking happy. But my brother bought me Dave Grohl's book,
Oh yeah.
which I'm really excited. Just because we're on the music vein.
I
and
heard
that,
an audio clip from an Audible book about that from that book, and he talks about Kurt Cobain. And
quite a bit, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read it, but I know he tells a story in there about after Kurt Cobain killing himself. You know, he was in Nirvana, obviously, and he was just in a rut, didn't want to do music anymore. Goes to Scotland, said he rented a car, and looks on a map and tried to drive to the least populated, most remote place in Scotland. So I just heard him tell this story, and I know it's in the book, so I can't wait to read it. But like he says, it was so far that like you had to make sure you had gas because there's no gas. Like, and he saw
remote.
you saw a hitchhiker, and he pulled over to pick him up, and the guy had a Kurt Cobain T-shirt on, and that inspired him because I think he got to see like, oh, our music is reaching people that there's only 10 people that live here.
Yeah.
And somehow and that's before the internet. I mean, that's 90s.
Yeah.
So he goes back and records the first Foo Fighters album, writes it, records every instrument himself. He doesn't have a band at this point.
Yeah, he's an amazing. He's pretty amazing. How
Yeah.
big of a musician
He sang, played the drums, played the guitar, played the bass, did it all, put it out. The album got massive, and then he's like, oh shit, I need to find a band. And then created,
Fighters.
one of the, probably, in my opinion, one of the greatest, I guess what do you call them? Alternative, punk, grunge.
kind of grungy rock.
Yeah. I mean, Dave Grohl's awesome. But anyway, I got that. That's a pretty good gift.
That's a good gift. Yeah.
And then we did attend our annual Friends Christmas gift party last night. Pretty fun. Seems like it's getting a little more mellow as we get older.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got kids. Everybody's got
Yeah.
to work. But we did the gift exchange this year where we drew numbers and all that stuff. And I did find it funny that you and me both
Ended
picked
up-
our own. Like, you got the gift that I bought, and I got the gift that you bought.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I mean, I liked your gift, man. I had to steal
I
it.
liked yours. Chase, I forgot to bring it up here, but he bought an action figure, an old school action figure of Mankind, who is a wrestler. It's a persona played by Mick Foley. Actually, I have a lunchbox here, Mankind lunchbox. So definitely bringing that up. Sweet little disco ball.
It was just a random assortment of crap.
Well, it's tough because you had to be somewhat gender neutral.
But I also got a hot sauce, missing a hot sauce.
Yep, because Chase has an issue with hot
yeah.
sauce. What else is in there? Oh, like a
sauna
cooling
suit.
face mask and a sauna suit. I
Yeah.
thought that was hilarious. I'm gonna wear it. You know what? Next week. So I think we're doing video. By the way, I know we've been talking about this for a long time. So we'll probably this episode will be on YouTube tomorrow, and it'll be our first ever
Video.
video on YouTube. So now that we're gonna continue with that, I'm probably gonna wear the sauna suit next week.
You're going to be sweating your ass off,
I know.
dude.
But so California, what'd you do?
So we went way out into Northern California and stayed at, I thought we were going to go to Yosemite, but apparently that, I don't know what happened there. We didn't end up going, but we stayed at a hotel casino and went on a hike, and it was really beautiful. Really.
Win any money?
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah.
And we did some simulated golf. That was
Dude,
fun.
that's fun. Yeah, that is fun.
And this one had, and it was like a jump room too. So like
trampolines?
everywhere. So Whitley got to go and jump all around.
Yeah, I saw a video of her getting some serious whiplash.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was watching, I was like, God.
She, there was one video, she smashes her face and like literally like wants to cry. And then just like her Aunt Avery.
That's the
is-
one I saw.
Yeah. Is like, oh, you're good. And
Yeah.
she just kind of like laughs through the cry and she's like, ah.
Well, I'm sure glad you're back,
Yeah.
bastard.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple other things I wanted to touch. We are in 2024 now. It's our first episode of the new year.
Yes, it is.
And what the F is already happening? It's like what, the 7th?
Yeah.
And people
Eighth,
are
maybe? I don't know.
people are running out of a mall from aliens. Did you see that?
No.
There's a video in Miami of people like running out of a mall and there's cops everywhere.
I seen the cops everywhere, and I seen
They're saying that they're running from like 10-foot aliens, like somehow took over the mall.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Miami. A little bit of that.
Welcome, our overlords.
Also, so far this year, the Epstein flight logs dropped.
yeah.
Interesting names on
Yeah,
that.
this is 2024 is starting off hot, man.
I'm not done yet. The release of Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
yeah.
So she's out.
Yep. For those of you who don't know, killed her mother.
Well,
But kind of,
she
Yeah.
she orchestrated it.
I'm not one to say that someone deserved it, but her mom
Yeah.
kind of deserved it.
That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't help myself.
Well, yeah, I get it.
I watched the documentary that just came out.
God, I'm sure it's great.
The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose.
Just cold.
It's interesting. All the stuff that her mom did to her,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then
It's
also-
it's pretty bad.
the way the killing took place, and you're listening to this person like tell you detail for detail about the stabbing, the words that were said,
Holy
the
shit.
thought process that they were in. By the way, if there's anybody that's not getting away with a crime, it's the way they did this one. She put on Facebook, the bitch is dead and all this stuff.
Just ratted on herself.
So she thought she was going to throw them off their scent.
Oh my
Like,
god.
I don't know. She didn't have a very good long-term plan. But, yeah, I watched it.
Well,
It's,
she's out now, so I guess it worked out
Yeah, and
okay for her.
Oh, and she's on a press tour right now.
Oh, yeah, I know she's supposed to be on like The View.
She
and all
was on The
sorts of
View.
shit.
She was on Good Morning America. She's making some money right now.
Oh yeah.
Plus, his documentary just came out. But it was funny watching this girl be interviewed from prison, saying all these horrific details, and then she's like, and she's got a really high pitched voice. It's weird because of these surgeries her mom made her go through, and she goes, "Yeah, my parole hearing's tomorrow, and I could get out." It's like, dude. Also,
wild.
This happens about every documentary that comes out about somebody that's been a victim for a while, and they get the family members on there, and they get all this, and they're like, you know, well, what can we do? Whoa, what can we do? I'm like, you're terrible. The doctors, by the way, that are performing operations.
How many lawsuits do you think those hospitals are about to get from her?
I don't know, but she was able to fabricate a lot of it because Katrina happened. So she would go to new doctors and say, we lost all our records in Katrina.
Oh.
And the doctor's like, okay, so you're telling me she has...
kind of smart, actually.
But here's what's not smart. They're like, oh, you're telling me she has leukemia? And they're like, yeah. Wouldn't that come up in some sort of test result?
I think you could do an x-ray probably and
For
figure
a
that out.
blood test?
Yeah, something.
And they said she had muscular dystrophy, which she didn't. Wouldn't you be able to... Like, as a doctor.
Yeah, there were some mistakes made.
And then you're like, hey, I'm going to go on this documentary and tell everybody how shitty of a doctor I am. You know? Like, what the hell? It's not like you missed something. No, you just
flat out
didn't do.
Yeah.
But anyway. So 2024 is off to a hot start.
It's great.
And this pissed me off today. We kind of had a conversation about the cologne commercials.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm seeing some pretty stupid commercials recently. Like, I think the one that pissed me off was an Aflac commercial, and it had Nick Saban and Deion Sanders.
Oh, Coach Prime.
And it was just dumb. Can you ever remember a product where you turned on the TV and you're like, well, I gotta have it because so-and-so, can you? Like, maybe as a kid.
Maybe.
I can't think of one thing that I see on TV, and I'm like, oh, I should switch insurance companies because Shaq has them.
Yeah, no, now as an adult, I don't think so. But as a kid, I don't know. Maybe I was like, oh, my God.
I mean, the only thing I could think of, and this was not necessarily when I was a child, but like when the Jordans came out. Like, I could understand that.
Yeah.
But like now, I see Austin Butler on a cologne commercial. It doesn't make me want to buy that cologne.
Yeah, the clone
Those ones are just...
We've gone on to that
yeah,
before.
I know.
They're stupid.
But I find it odd that they are paying actors or athletes so much money. And it's like, that's not swaying me.
Dak Prescott for Sleep Number.
Yeah, like I'm not going to go buy a bed because a shitty quarterback lays on one. That's stupid. Or like Subway, you know, they got Mahomes and Steph Curry and all those guys. It's like, it didn't make me want a meatball sub.
No.
Anyway, that's just something I wrote down. Also, this is kind of something that sparked my interest because of the movie. But how cool is smoking cigarettes?
Used to be very cool.
No, I think it's getting cool again. Here's why. I don't smoke. I think I might still be an asthmatic. And I won't start smoking. But now, in the age of every idiot having a vape stick in their hand, when I see someone standing outside smoking a stogie,
you got a little more respect.
I absolutely do. I'm like, way to not
give in.
Yeah, smoke that. And now with the vapes, and I know you're a vapor, so I like how it's like acceptable to do everywhere now because it's water vapor. But as someone who doesn't do it, and when I'm sitting on the couch in between two people ripping vape sticks, and it makes me cough. And I'm like, what the hell? You wouldn't, in today's day and age, you wouldn't even think about being out at supper and lighting up a cancer stick. You wouldn't do it. But by God, people pull out that freaking vape pen or sitting in the movie theater. And so now I think it's cool when I see someone smoking, especially if they're leaning up against a wall.
Yeah, they're all cool and shit. Yeah.
Maybe wearing a leather jacket.
Yeah, that is something to be said because I found that too. I think I have more respect for the people that just go against the grain. They're like, yeah, I know it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
No, dude, listen, if you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah. Own it.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah.
You're a smoker.
Whatever.
Be a smoker. Your house stinks.
All I gotta say is, movies make it look really cool.
And especially like the movie we watched in the 40s and 50s, it's just like everybody smoked. Everybody did.
Dude, you could smoke in a hospital.
You could smoke on an airplane.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I don't know. I hope smoking makes a comeback. And I feel I'm personal on this because like today, so this Zen stuff, these nicotine pouches.
Yeah, it's just straight nicotine.
Everybody's chewing
How can Zen, dude?
Zins. And then I'll go buy chew and I'm like Copenhagen and they're like look at me like I'm an old guy or something. They're like, oh, you want real chewing tobacco? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to make a mess. I'm going to spit.
I don't know if you can make that one look cool, though.
Oh, it doesn't look cool. It only looks cool if like you're branding cattle or something.
Yeah, just...
Or like working on an oil rig. Like it's definitely not cool if you're sitting behind a desk spitting in a bottle.
like a mechanic or something.
Yeah, something really manly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to only say, you'll probably remember this, but I used to always say I was going to marry a woman that chewed.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And everybody thought I was disgusting. You know, maybe I was a little bit more progressive back in the day than people give me credit for. Because I said, why is it okay for women to smoke and guys to smoke and nobody like holds it against a woman, right? But when a woman chews, oh, it's disgusting. It's nasty.
Yeah.
I think it would be convenient. I run out of chew.
Hey, you got a
baby.
dip?
Yeah. Hey, sweetheart. You got a little tobacco on you? But my wife won't do it. I've been trying to get her in there. What else do I got on here? This is really the last thing I want to talk about. And I don't know. I saw TikTok today. I saw TikTok about a guy. Dudes are creative.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people think that guys are stupid because
Yeah.
we can entertain ourselves easily and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I saw a guy on TikTok today that while his wife was at work, he went to the thermostat, took out the batteries. He went to the TV and like just barely unplugged
Oh,
it.
to make himself...
He went and turned off the furnace or like he turned off the valve to the sink under the sink. So when his wife got home, she's like, the TV's not working. And then he gets out his tools and he goes back there and he's just like fired up a drill like into the air. So it sounds like he's working on something. He's like, yeah, try it now. And then fixes it. And then she goes to try to adjust the air conditioning and the thermostat won't work. And he's like, let me take a look at it. And he just pops a battery in there, you know? And he gets into the bathroom and she's like, the sink's not working. He's like, all right, let me open her up. And she's like, oh my God, you're working on everything. Do you need anything? He's like, I'll take a beer, maybe a bag of chips. So she brings it and he's just not fixing anything. But then he like acts like his back's tight. And she's like, oh, and she's giving him a back rub. And he's like, yeah, I changed the flex capacitor in the AC unit today. And, the alternator on the back of the TV. And she's like, oh my God, thank you so much. What a genius freaking idea. Because now she's like grateful that he's such a handyman and he's not doing anything.
He's awesome.
It's like those videos. You ever see those guys that like those, they're always like middle-aged men that just can't handle their wife anymore. So they say like, I'm going to go work on the roof. And they're just sitting up there drinking beer and they're just drilling or hammering on something.
Yeah.
I think, that's just genius, which made me think it's like men are so creative at times. Like you give a group of guys like a case of beer, a Bluetooth speaker, and a few lawn chairs, you're entertained for the whole day.
Oh, yeah.
You don't even have to do anything.
You guys might literally just be bullshitting for...
Oh, you'll talk about UFOs, who killed Kennedy.
Yeah.
I mean, just get into some serious rabbit holes. There's fun. I love those videos where it says like, she thinks he's out cheating and it's like dudes with their heads buried in the sand, like doing
Whatever.
some sort of acapella thing.
Yeah.
It's like, and I saw another video of these guys like trying to construct the perfect text message to send to a girl. So there's like 10 guys and they all have different takes. And it's like, they wasted 8 hours doing this. It's like, that's really what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we do.
We're pretty simple.
It's not hard to entertain us. I mean, just throw 10 guys in a room and put a tape measure in there and we'll make a game out of it.
Something's getting made.
Yeah, something's going to happen. So, for all the ladies out there that think men are stupid, just get on TikTok and type in, like, the boys. And we're not. And we have a lot of fun. And you know what we don't have to do? Spend money to have fun. You know, just stay home. But no, we'll get out of here. The last thing I want to do, because he's been sharing our stuff. I have a nephew who's a school teacher, was a 2-time All-American college linebacker in
What up?
football. What?
Hey,
Cracking skulls.
just smash mouth football, baby.
Yep. But he's getting married this year, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, he asked me to be his officiant.
nice.
Yeah, pretty pumped. But he's got a TikTok channel where I love it because he's a meathead, gym rat, typical football guy.
Yeah,
Like, he's a school teacher and a football coach.
yeah. I mean,
That happens.
That happens,
I mean,
yeah.
every school has that. It's like their history teacher's also the offensive coordinator or something.
yeah.
But he teaches
D-lines coach.
Yeah. But he teaches grade school. But he's a freaking nerd. Big time. Comic book nerd. This is how nerdy he is. His favorite comic book hero is Moon Knight.
Really?
Yeah. He was so jazzed when they announced they were making a Moon Knight show.
That's pretty obscure character.
Right?
Yeah,
It's definitely not. Yeah, I wouldn't. But he loves them.
that's great.
But he loves them all. But anyway, he's got this TikTok channel where he calls it his nerd haul. He'll go spend money on mystery boxes or whatever nerd shit
and opening them.
and then just open them. And I watch him because I couldn't be. Listen, he's tons of accolades athletically, got multiple college degrees. Fine. The one thing I'm really proud of him is his knowledge when it comes to comic books and professional wrestling. I get so. Oh, and you could talk Star Wars with him all day.
Oh yeah.
He's a freaking nerd in every aspect. But anyway, so go check out his TikTok. It's Colby Johnson on there. But he just put up a new Deadpool thing. So
Ah, cool.
I feel like we should shout that. He's been sharing our stuff. So
Yeah, shout out.
yeah, and it also pisses me off a little bit. He gets like way more likes on his TikToks than we do.
Yeah, people like the mystery of these boxes.
I also feel like maybe we're a step behind generationally.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
You know, like his generation, this is prime time for it. I mean, he's
Yeah,
24, 25 years old.
yeah, we're kind of the older guys now.
We're papa trying to figure out TikTok.
yeah, pretty
Dude,
much.
I'm not shitting you. When I put up those 2 videos, it took me probably an hour and a half to figure out how to
Crop them.
crop the video down, then upload it, and then you got to use hashtags and everything.
Yeah, I think we can officially be like, yeah, we're old now, dude.
I know. I need to hire like my 17-year-old niece to
Yeah,
put our shit up. But yeah, anyway, speaking of that, Booze Reviews on TikTok. Share the pages.
Apple, Spotify, find us wherever.
Yep. Just Google it.
Yeah,
We're on there. I also like how Dak made it a very large point yesterday to point out that he has not listened to a single episode of our show.
that's okay.
But he was critiquing it and then said he's never listened. So
It sounds about right.
he's like, dude, you need to get on this website, and then you need to do this, and then you should also bring this up on the show. And I'm like, you didn't listen. And he's like, I like crime podcasts. Well, you know, we just talked about Gypsy Rose, so we got our
Yeah,
bases covered.
we got a little bit of that in there.
But and then also, this episode will be on YouTube. So if you want to, I guess, see the studio a little bit,
Follow the YouTube page. That'd be
follow
cool.
the YouTube page. Yeah, C&D's Booze Reviews on YouTube. Other than that, I think I don't have anything left to say. Do you?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. So next week will be my movie,
Yeah,
and we're done with the holiday season.
yeah, we're a free game now.
Yeah, it's rolling. Although my wife's birthday's like next week. This is just financially a tough time of year for me because you got Christmas,
Oh yeah, yeah,
her birthday.
yeah,
2 weeks after that, Valentine's Day.
yeah. It's not fair.
And then I don't have anything to look forward to until St. Patrick's Day. and I already know what movie we're watching for that.
Okay.
So, not a lot of Irish movies. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the list is pretty narrow. But all right, well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Love you, dude.
Love you, dude.
Yeah, we stay thirsty all the time. It's always beer drinking weather out here. We get it pouring like a storm out here. No, there ain't nothing better whenever we're together. It's beer drinking weather out here. Grab a cold can of